Welcome back for another segment of Susan's Camper. I didn't expect to be making this video, but sometimes you have a project that just doesn't want to cooperate. And that's what happened with Susan's Camper. I made her sign and delivered it to her on July 5th of this year, 2020. And about a week or so, maybe a week and a half after I had delivered it to her, her sign warped real bad, and I'll put a picture of that right here. So I asked her to get it back to me, and she brought it to work, and I went and picked it up from her work, and I couldn't believe how bad it had warped. It warped 11/16 of an inch in an upward bow, and you can see in that picture it warped extensively bad. So I brought it back to my shop. I laid it on the floor with the cup up, and I put some weight on top of it, and I left that heavy weight on there for about a week, and it didn't hardly make a dent in the warpage. It maybe 1/8 of an inch it took out. So I thought, well, it's not going to flatten back out, so I'm just going to have to remake it. So I had some other projects that I was working on, and I needed to knock those out real quick as best I could. And one of them I'd already started, and that was a Ten Oaks project, and I was in the middle of that one when this happened. So I needed to get that one finished, and then I had some cremation urns that I had to make, so I knocked those out real quick. But now I'm on hers again. So in the periods that I was allowing the urns to absorb the oils that I put on them, I ran down and picked up some more poplar to make her sign again. Well, one of the things I discovered and was taught was that I had laminated 2 1x8 pieces of poplar to make her board. And that's about the center of them. So that was one board, this was another board. And what I was taught after I had done this was that that's too wide of a board to laminate to make one big panel. And that you should not be making laminations with boards wider than 3 inches. You can put together as many of those 3-inch pieces as you want, alternating the grains up and down. You can put as many of those together as you want and not have any issues with the warpage. But you take 2 big 1x8s like I did there, and they warped very badly. So I went down to buy some more. I bought some 1x4s, which is 3/4 by 3.5 wide, and I'll cut the 1/2 inch wide off to give me the 3-inch wide boards. And I'm just going to laminate those together to come up with the backer that I needed, which is what this is right here. Well, after I got back, and again, during one of the down times where I was having to let the oil soak into those urns, I had a little more time. So I reached back behind my air compressor where I had stored that sign to take some measurements, because I wanted to get it laid out exactly like the other sign was, because she liked that one. I wanted to duplicate it. And I picked that board up to take some measurements off of it, and that board was flat. I couldn't believe it. It was virtually flat. So the best thing I can figure is I've had to have my air conditioner on in my shop for several weeks now, because I was working with some products that I needed to maintain the humidity level and the moisture content in their materials to avoid any warpages. So the only thing I can think of is it relaxed the humidity or the moisture level relaxed and dissipated in the board, and it flattened itself back out. So again, I got on the phone with my mentor, Eric Roten at makeawoodsign.com. And I talked with him about it, and we decided that the best thing for me to do was to go ahead and laminate the boards like I had planned on doing to make the new frame or the new sign. But rather than running them horizontally, which we tend to favor doing for layout purposes, it kind of looks aesthetically more pleasing to the eye, he said, let's run them vertically and attach it to the back of the board and that will stabilize it, because it's kind of like plywood. Plywood has one grain running this way, and the next layer of board has the grain running the opposite, and then they kind of stagger them like that, and the more they stagger them, the more stable the boards become, because the grains can't shift. So this is going to be basically a 2-sheet plywood board, but 2 3/4 inch thick strips. So anyway, this is what we're going to do on the back. So these are going to stand vertically up, whereas the 2 boards I laminated together to make the sign run horizontally. So we're going to have basically this pattern like this, and that's going to stabilize it. So what I'm going to be doing now is going ahead and pulling the boards out of the clamp and cawls. I've had these in here overnight. They've had about a 10-hour drive, so they're very, very sturdy, very strong, and the glue has had time to cure, so it's a good strong back. So I'm going to take these out of the cawls and the clamps, and these are cawls, these are clamps. I'm going to remove them out of the cawls and clamps. I'm going to clean up the glue squeeze out and do a little sanding and get this thing nice and flat on the background, and then I will get it glued and screwed to the back of Susan's sign. But I've also got to work on the back of our sign. I've got to remove the clear coat that I put on the back of it, so that the glue has some fresh wood to adhere to, and to adhere to this one as well. So I've got a little bit more work ahead of me, but mainly what I want to point out is I'm going to do what it takes to keep my customers happy. And we're going to attempt to fix this one, and if it doesn't work and I can't solve it, I'll make her another one, or I'll refund her money, whichever she prefers. But I'm going to do what I can to make my customers happy. So I appreciate it, and I'll be back with you momentarily. Thanks. All right, I've got the backer board glued up, sanded down, and ready to apply it to the back of Susan's camper. And what I've done is I've made a straight cut right across the bottom, and then these edges are already cut to the size. And then what I'll do, I'll have a little bit extra sticking up over here, but I'll trim that off after I get the sign on it. That way I know I've got a good flush fit all the way around. So I decided to drill and countersink all the screw holes in the back of the board off camera. So that's going to just make it a whole lot easier for me when it comes time to glue it up and screw them down to the board. And it's just going to make the process a lot quicker. So I went ahead and did that off camera. It's just a matter of drilling holes and countersinking it so that the screw heads fit below the surface of the back of this board. So nothing special to it. The next step is the actual glue up. So I'll be back in just a minute. Well, welcome back. This is another bonus video. You don't have to see my ugly mug while I'm doing this. The next step in the process is to spread the glue out on the back of the sign, and then I'll pick up the backer board and set it right down. This is the bottom, this is the top of the sign, and I've got the backer board set, so I just have to pick it up and lay it straight down. Then I'll clamp it in position. Once I've got it clamped where I want it to be, then I'll grab my screws and the drill motor, and I'll just start screwing those down in position. The easiest way to do this is to just pour it and spread it out with your hands. It's kind of messy, but that's what they make rubber gloves for. So this is the fun part. Here we go. We're just going to spread it out, and we will take a whole lot more glue than this, so don't sweat it. We'll have plenty of glue. Get this over here out of the way. Put the cap on. And then it's just a matter of spreading it out. And you want a good spread out all the way around. And normally I would not be doing this over these black rubber mats that I have the sign laying on. Those mats typically are what I use to carve on. They don't let the boards move. But since this is a carved and basically finished sign on the front, I need to protect it, so I'd rather sacrifice that mat and buy me some more than take a chance on messing it up. So, small price to pay to save me some time and effort, but it's no big deal. It's easy to take care of. Those aren't expensive, and I'd rather save the sign. So, but as you see, we use a lot of glue. Glue is cheap. In the scope of everything, when you think about the possibility of having an issue with it not turning, with it turning loose and not holding and stuff like that, I would rather squeeze out glue and lose some of it to waste than to not have enough applied and then have an issue with the boards not holding together. Next step is to bring in the backer board. It's going to want to slide around for a little bit because of the glue. So I'll have to set this thing probably 2 or 3 times before I finally get it where I want it and can start screwing it down. So hang in there with me, because when you tighten these down, it wants to move. Okay, now I can live with that. So now it's a matter of putting in all the screws, and there's 49 of them to be put in. And that's a lot of screws put in.
Deep in the shadows, I know it's hard to put one foot in front of the other. So far as the echo, where do we start? You can learn to discover a million stars. Here in the shadows, I know you're scared. Take my hand, together we'll make a stand. We've got to fight to find a way.
Well, okay. 49 screws in the back, holding it down tight with the clamps. I believe we're going to be okay. I'll let this sit overnight, and then we'll see tomorrow what we got. But we should have a good flat board. So hopefully, cross your fingers, say some prayers for me. But I think it's going to be good. So I'll see you tomorrow.
If we can just find a way